In this video, I continue the testing I had started in my previous video where I was trying to determine which is the most efficient setting, iPedal, level 0 or auto. Specifically in this video, I test out normal mode with auto level 0 and also eco mode in iPedal, auto level 0 and auto level 3. Once again, you'll be surprised by the results. A couple of weeks ago, I published a video testing the efficiency of different regen modes on streets and highways. I had wanted to find out which regen setting is the most efficient, iPedal, auto or zero regen. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend you watch that first, since this video is a continuation of that testing. You can view it by clicking on the link in the top right corner of your screen. And here comes the spoiler. Stop and watch the other video if you don't want to hear the results. I had tested the different modes out on streets and highways and found that auto regen delivered the best results. But as often happens, when you set out to find answers, you get the answers, but along the way, more questions are raised. And you, my smart and intelligent viewers, raised a number of great questions when you watch the previous video. Those questions fell into two groups. First, since I had done the testing in normal drive mode, a number of you wanted to know how the car would perform in eco mode. The second question had to do with finding out how the car performs in the different auto regen modes. Let's delve into the different auto regen modes to start with, since that's a little bit more complicated. As we saw in the previous video, Kia describes auto mode as a smart regeneration system that automatically controls the regenerative braking depending on the road gradient and distance or speed of the vehicle ahead. Now there isn't just one auto level, there are actually multiple levels. There's auto 0, auto 1, auto 2 and auto 3 regen levels. These are just like the basic regen levels of 0, 1, 2 and 3, with the difference being that in auto, the car's computer is adjusting the regen braking to accommodate gradient along with the speed and distance of the traffic ahead. This may sound complicated, but I'll show you how that works in just a bit. In order to enter these different auto levels, you use the paddles to get the car to the regen level you want, for example level 0, and then you pull and hold the right paddle until the display changes to auto. Now you are in auto mode, level 0 in the case of this example. In my last test, I tested the car in normal mode, auto level 3 setting. So in this test, I wanted to add a loop in normal mode, auto level 0 setting, all the way at the other end of the auto settings. The results of auto levels 1 and 2 would fall in between. Then I also wanted to test out eco mode. So I drove the car in eco iPedal, eco auto level 3 and eco auto level 0. If you're a little confused, don't worry. I'll put it all together in an easy to understand table at the end of the video. The drive was the same as in the previous video, up and down El Camino Real in a 16-mile loop, keeping to the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. The route is mostly flat and has a number of signal lights and a fair amount of traffic. I didn't bother testing on the freeway since, as you'll recall from the previous test, the efficiency numbers were essentially the same. Now before I go into the results of each test, I also repeated a run from the last test to make sure that the car returned the same efficiency numbers, since I was conducting the test on a different day. I redid the normal mode iPedal run and it returned a mileage of 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour, within a margin of error of the 4.3 I got for the same test in the previous video. Since we are still in normal mode, I'll show you the run for normal mode with auto level 0. Okay, so I've entered auto mode through level 0 regen. And so as a result, the car feels a lot like it's driving in level 0 regen mode, which means that it's quick, it's responsive, it accelerates quickly. One interesting thing about entering auto mode through 0 level regen is that it will actually adjust the level of regen based on the vehicle in front of you. So as soon as it senses the vehicle in front of you, the auto in the dashboard will go green, which tells you that it's sensing a car ahead. And as that car slows down and as you lift your foot off the accelerator, the regen will actually increase, and you can feel the car slowing down because it's applying the regen. And as it's doing that, the regen meter on the dashboard will also increase, showing you that it's applying more regen. So that's a really interesting thing that it's doing. That run resulted in a mileage of 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. That's the same as the mileage in iPedal, but less than the mileage for Auto Level 3, which returned 4.6. Next, I'll show you how Eco Mode performed. Now, per the Kia manual, Eco Mode is supposed to improve electric energy efficiency by limiting the acceleration response and the air conditioner performance. So let's start with Eco Mode iPedal. So iPedal in Eco Mode feels very much like iPedal should, which is that it is single pedal driving, and you can just accelerate and decelerate with one foot on the accelerator. It does feel heavy because it is in full regen mode, and it is also in Eco Mode, so that definitely adds to the feeling of heaviness. The accelerator pedal is dampened, the response is slow and heavy, so that's what it pretty much is expected. One of the questions that had come up from the previous video was whether in Eco Mode both the front motor and the rear motor are running, and yes, they are, which is surprising because in normal mode we saw that, and in Eco Mode the goal is to save energy, and so one would have thought that maybe just the rear wheel motor is driving, but I guess what's happening is for maximum regeneration they are using both motors to accelerate and decelerate for regeneration. When I completed my run, the mileage was 4 miles per kilowatt hour, surprisingly less efficient than the iPedal in normal mode, which delivered 4.3. Honestly, I have no idea why that would be the case. That is certainly an unexpected result. After iPedal, I'll show you Auto Regen Level 3. Okay, so I entered Auto mode through Level 3, so the car feels very much like it's in Level 3 Regen mode. The car feels kind of heavy. If you take your foot off the accelerator, it immediately begins to slow down. And when you come to a stop, you have to use your foot brake. Now, this is also in Eco Mode. So Eco Mode puts a damper on the acceleration essentially, and so it accelerates slower than it would in normal mode. Interestingly, that result was 4.6 miles per kilowatt hours, the exact same number as normal mode Auto Level 3. The same, but importantly not better, as I would have expected out of Eco Mode. Well, will Eco Mode Auto Level 0 also return the same as normal mode? I went out on another lap, and sure enough, the mileage was 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, the exact same number as that of normal mode. So let's put all these numbers side by side and see what they tell us. Let's start with Eco Mode. Well, Eco Mode, surprisingly, turned out to be a big disappointment. Instead of delivering better mileage than normal mode, in the two auto levels it delivered the same, and in the iPedal mode it delivered noticeably worse mileage. I don't have an explanation for why it performed so poorly, but it confirms a gut suspicion of mine that Eco Mode really doesn't deliver the results that one would expect. Next, let's look at the two auto modes. Auto Level 3 clearly performed better than Auto Level 0 in both normal and Eco. Why? Well, when I was in Auto Level 0, I noticed that every time I had to come to a stop at a red light without a car in front of me, I had to use the foot brake. And all those were lost opportunities to recharge the battery with the regenerative braking. Auto Level 3, on the other hand, with its heavier regen brake setting, took advantage of all those opportunities to charge the battery, thereby delivering a higher mileage. Now, just so you know, in Auto 0, you can also manually pull and hold the left paddle to use regen braking when coming to a stop. But for the purposes of this test, I was refraining from any manual regen braking inputs. There are numerous settings in which you can drive this car. There are the 3 basic drive modes: Eco, Normal, and Sport. In each of these, you can use regen levels 1, 2, 3, and I-pedal, or you could use Auto 0, 1, 2, and 3. Add to that the manual use of the regen brake paddle, and you've got a head-spinning number of settings in which to drive this car. So which setting should you use? Well, if you're the set it and forget it type, the most efficient setting, from my testing, appears to be Normal Mode, Auto Level 3. What's nice about the auto setting is that when you restart your car, it will remember that setting. If you just use the basic regen levels, the car will always start up in Level 3 regen, no matter what level you were in when you turned off the car. But you could also play around with the settings and see which one is most fun or most convenient for you. Personally, I like Normal Mode, I-pedal on city streets for the convenience of one-pedal driving, and Normal Mode, Regen 0 on the highway, because the car feels so light and quick. And that's what's so amazing about this car and all the different settings. You can find the one that suits you best. If you enjoyed this video, please consider making a donation using Super Thanks. It will support the many hours that I put into doing these tests and making these videos. Of course, please be sure to give the video a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you can stay on top of the latest videos. Please give the video a like, share your comments below, and subscribe to the Driver Download.